Yeah. Boxing aficionados. What's up? What's going on? Hey, yo, check this out. My, oh my, oh my, oh my. I'm going to ask y'all a question. Have you ever seen a B-side fighter whose best win on his resume is Jose Uzcategui? Would you ever have imagined that a B-side fighter whom no one but outside of his gym knows would try to dictate terms to a Canelo Alvarez, the face of boxing? Have you ever imagined that that was even possible? Well, that's where we are. So I thought that maybe it'd be a good idea to delve into why this is happening. So the reason why this is happening is because Canelo Alvarez, besides being the face of boxing and a walking, talking, living commodity, right? Canelo Alvarez, to the PBC, represents the one that got away, right? So you got to dial back a few years, maybe some 8 years, when Canelo Alvarez chose to stay with Oscar De La Hoya through the darkest time of his life. Man comes out of a rehab, fresh off a coke binge, hitting rock bottom, comes out of this rehab to find out that what he thought was his company wasn't his company at all. He found out that his partner was actually partnering with someone else to his detriment. So Canelo Alvarez, or rather Oscar De La Hoya, realizing the bottom and the predicament that he's in, takes the culprits that tried to take his company from him to court, where he won $50 million worth of restitution. However, the fighters that he thought were with him, the Danny Garcias, the Keith Thurmans, the Porters, the Deontay Wilders, and so on and so forth, these fighters who've been fighting under the Golden Boy banner, his Golden Boy banner, weren't signed to his company at all. He was getting screwed. And they all saw fit to march right out the door with Al Haymon, Steven Espinoza, and Richard Schaefer, leaving Golden Boy Promotions in shambles. In shambles. Shambles would be a very fitting word, right? So at that point, Oscar De La Hoya had two fighters worth talking about. Two fighters of note. Maybe a third if you, well, let's just say two fighters. One was Lucas Matisse. The other, Canelo Alvarez. And that is something that's still stuck in the craw, that is still stuck in the craw of Al Haymon. Canelo Alvarez is the one that got away. Ladies and gentlemen, that's who Canelo Alvarez is to Al Haymon. The one that got away. Yeah. That one fighter was worth more than his entire 200 fighter roster. One Canelo Alvarez is worth more than a Deontay Wilder, Danny Garcia, Errol Spence, Keith Thurman. One Canelo Alvarez is worth more than all that lot of B-level talent parading around as elites put together. So, what Al Haymon sees right now is an opportunity to rectify that, right? Now Canelo needs one more belt to become, I believe, the first Mexican to be undisputed. Well, in the four belt era, the first Mexican to be undisputed super middleweight champion of the world. He would certainly be the first Mexican to be undisputed super middleweight undisputed champion of the world, right? So he needs that one belt, and now Haymon thinks that, got him now. I got him now. I can right this wrong. I can become whole. But the thing is that in the process, the entire world of boxing and the fans that want to see this take place get robbed of an event. You see, one of the things is that the PBC does not operate like other promotional companies. Other promotional companies understand that there's an A side, there's a B side for a reason. And when there's such a large difference between the A side and the B side, this is not a Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather situation. This is not, 1 and 1A. This ain't A plus and A. This is not that situation, right? This isn't even a Triple G Canelo situation, right? Kind of like both bring something to the table more than belts. No, this is Canelo Alvarez against Caleb Plant. And I think that Plant name is very appropriate for him. But that's neither here nor there. Point is that you can't get a fight, or we can't see this fight, because Al Haymon needs to get the one that got away. Take this opportunity to sign him to a 1 or 2 or 3 year deal, instead of just taking the money that's offered at the table. And let me tell you something. If this were a question of money, I could understand if Caleb Plant held out for $10 million. Let's say Canelo's offering $8 million. If Caleb Plant were to be asking for $10 million and not getting it, I could understand this hitting a snag. I could understand if he asked for $12 million and wasn't getting it. If it was about money, I could understand. But when it is about trying to tell Canelo Alvarez what to do with the rest of his career for the next 3 years or 3 fights or whatever, that I don't understand. You see, what this really means and speaks to is to the level of confidence that Al Haymon has in his fighters. He's not the type that's going to say, you know what, Caleb, go over there. Go get paid and bring me back that belt. He ain't thinking that's ever going to happen. He ain't thinking any of his fighters could touch Canelo. He doesn't think any of the fighters in his roster in and around the middleweight division can do that. He feels that the only way that he can get that other belt and really build a star is if he forces one to sign with him. And Canelo's not having it. Canelo turned down $335 million to be free. And you think he's going to sign with PBC? Canelo didn't like PBC to begin with. He didn't like Haymon to begin with. If he liked Al Haymon, if he liked the whole vibe over there, he would have stayed with Al Haymon and them 8 years ago. Didn't like it. Wasn't his thing. So now he's choosing Eddie Hearn to represent him. He likes that Eddie Hearn's affable, handsome, wears his pajamas on the stage. He likes that. Eddie Hearn will do anything for him. Likes his personality. Whatever it is his choice. And these boys at the PBC, Al Haymon and them, think that they can change that. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a shame that we might not get this fight. I'm hoping that cooler heads will prevail and that Al Haymon and the PBC start really understanding and reflecting on the position that they're in, which is no position at all. They have a trinket that Canelo wants. That's about it. If you want to put a rematch clause in it, do that. But for you to try to get him involved in a deal, is crazy. But it speaks to the mentality of the PBC. It's not about legacy. It's not about entertaining the fan, and it certainly is not about growing the sport. What it's about is control. It's control and avarice, greed of the highest level. Greed of the highest level. Because it takes some kind of greed to keep a fighter from his biggest payday when you know there's no way that you yourself will be able to provide it. You don't care about that fighter's family. You don't care about his kids if he's got any. You don't care about his wife. You don't care about his father. You don't care about nothing. You care about the PBC. And you care that somebody's going to say at the end of the fight, I want to thank Al Haymon, right? That's what it's about. The one that got away. Where will it end? This is Next Level Boxing Talk, baby. I'm out.